Pini and some rumba, chutney and lavandina. I didn't know necessary. Boy, we calypso mercenary. Bring it up to shout for me. I wanted to raw boy, raw for me. Man, 10-year impulso. Toro Sopi and Peter. Boy, take it away.
Good afternoon, and welcome to this edition of On Target. I do apologize on behalf of the two gentlemen in front of me for the late start. We were here. It just happens that we have some issues with our electronics, and I'm beginning to believe that we are bugged somewhere. We have a virus somewhere because it's happening so frequently now. It makes you wonder. I mean, the good old days was on this morning. No problem. No problem, the good old days. Had a free run. But the moment we stepped into the studio today, it has been one issue after another.
Truth is under attack.
And so I do apologize for the late start. And as usual, when we start late, we cannot give commendation to all those persons who would have been early on the show and signed up and looking forward to have their names called. We do understand. And it's something that we like doing, but we do have to take the time into consideration because the other shows now that comes on, we no longer have the free run like we normally would do. So, you know how it goes. Anyhow, let me say good afternoon to all those who are... Whose phone is that? Oh. I was wondering. Good afternoon, you're on target.
Yes, good afternoon. I don't call back, but just for the record, the good old days had a bug this morning.
Oh, they had a bug this morning too? Okay.
Yeah, so
I don't feel so bad after all. All right, thanks for that.
Okay, all right.
All right, so the good old days, so it seems like 2020 Vision got to do some work to make sure we get virus-free programming. All right, so we are on track now. But let me say good afternoon to all those on the Facebook feed, YouTube, Twitch, and of course, on the FM dial. And if you're on Syncits, US, UK, Canada, anywhere in the Caribbean, welcome to On Target. And as your host, let me say good afternoon to each and every one of you. And good afternoon to my two co-hosts, Hainsey Daniel and Tulu Weeks. Gentlemen, we are a bit late, but any opening statements you gentlemen choose to make?
Just very quickly, Kel. First of all, I have to express my condolences to you and the extended family on the passing of Steve. Steve is the daily sharp boy. You know,
Yeah.
I have never, he was in school and we were in school. And you know, Kel, I never see him with less than 2 or 3 women with him. I don't know if it's you copy from him or he copy from
I
him.
didn't copy from him. And he didn't copy from me, so I don't know what you're talking about.
But he's an full of life guy, a bright fella, and so I am saddened to see him go. So please accept my condolences on behalf of the family.
Thank you very much.
And two other things, Kel, quickly. I went to the Music Excellence Awards organized by the Governor General, Marcella Liebert, and I thought I would say this publicly. I thought there was an effort. This Music Excellence Award, they're raising money for the music industry in St. Kitts and Nevis. But I thought 2 things were instructive. One, there were Nivision artists who were on the shows, on the various shows. The Honeybee String Band was there, and Carmela Lawrence and others. So that's one from the point of view of engagement. And then the second thing was, when somebody invites you to something in St. Kitts, you have to think about the transport by sea and also transport on the ground. All of those were covered by the organizers. So it took away the reason for saying that you wouldn't go. I thought that was quite good in terms of ensuring you have what you call a cross-border collaboration. And the other thing is that Alphonse Hendrickson, whom you know, Kelly, he was given an award for 40 years of service as a police, and he has worked with 5 governors general since 83, and still is working as an excellent police officer. And of course, he's from Low Street down there. And finally, the acting Chief Justice of the OECS Supreme Court, this might be something we might be interested in. Mario Michel, as I told you, he was a politician, he's a minister of government in St. Lucia. He has decided that he is going to resign because he can't get appointed. Well, apparently the arrangement says that every OECS head has to agree, unanimous. So they have not done that. Maybe to your own preference to appoint a politician as a Chief Justice permanently. So he has left. So that there's an opening coming.
Okay, I shall apply. All right, Tulu, any thoughts before we get into the deep? Okay. All right. Just a notice, our caretaker for St. Paul's, J.D. Keynes, has a wonderful initiative. It's called a mother-daughter look-alike contest.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah. So for Mother's Day, I guess for Father's Day, you had a father-son look-alike contest. But for Mother's Day, a special celebration, and if you win, if you're chosen as by vote, those persons who go on Facebook and see, and they agree which is the most alike, then you get a wonderful breakfast, courtesy of J.D. Keynes, for 4 seasons. All right?
What?
So, look out for the postings. If you have a daughter that looks like you, or you believe the child looks like you, post them, and you'll be judged, and the winner gets a wonderful breakfast. So
you're part of that judgment?
No. It's all done by likes on Facebook.
Oh.
So we are not involved at all.
Oh, okay.
So
I have hit like to some of them already.
Yeah, I've seen some, and it's eerie how closely these kids look to their parents.
I saw one from Brown Hill. They in Keene, and oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's
Spot on.
It's scary. It's scary. All right. So
the father didn't get any kind of look at all from them.
I applaud our caretaker for such a wonderful initiative. It's fun.
Yeah,
it is really fun.
Very creative.
We always think of politics as being dull and dreary and full of noise and rancor. But I commend the caretaker for St. Paul's to step up and do something.
So it's just going to be by the likes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Nice. So
I was looking. At one point I said, "Wait, is this going to be a competition they're having?" Or?
No, no. The St. Paul's group has no voting power. We can simply say we like this or like that. But in the end, is the general audience in cyberspace going to decide?
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Good. Great.
Now, of course, the health tip is next. And we're going to focus on sweeteners today. But I wanted to share some new research that I came across just yesterday. And it bears out and it validates what I've been trying to tell you guys about your diet. All right? And accessing these vitamin shots and making sure you get enough vitamin C and vitamin D, trace minerals. And what this research is showing is that we've been approaching the care or the treatment of cancer all wrong. We have been going with chemotherapy and blasting cells to kill them, the cancer cells, instead of trying to prevent the cancer cells from emerging in the first instance by reducing inflammation and, of course, taking away the food source of cancer cells.
Sweet.
All right? And so this, I was getting goosebumps reading this research paper. And it validates, my good friends, it validates exactly what I've been telling you guys. Stock up on your vitamin C, your vitamin D, your zinc, and make sure you get your vitamin shots. You can create them yourself. They're very easy. I've given you a formula, but you can create any basic vitamin shot you want. Basic ingredients, cayenne must be included. All right, turmeric must be included. Ginger must be included. After that, you can mix and match as you see fit. As you see fit. Do not, you have nothing to lose by trying. Absolutely nothing. All right? I don't want to see so many of us come down with cancer.
Yeah.
All right? So let us try
So
something.
you can combine these.
You can combine them any which way you want. So the idea is to prevent the occurrence. And these nutritional bullets, as I like to call them, seems to be the key ingredient in preventing not only cancers, but also prevent inflammation, especially in your gut, in your large and small intestines, which can generate inflammation in your blood and your bones and your tissues. So the key thing here is to reduce inflammation as much as possible. So let's get into the health tip. And there has been a raging debate about honey versus sugar, which is best. Well, hands down, honey is best. All right? Honey is more calorie dense, but so by being calorie dense, you don't need as much to sweeten your tea. I particularly don't go to sweeteners. I like my stuff fresh, unsweetened. But if you have to have sugar, or I shouldn't say sugar, if you have to have sweetness, then by all means, the most expensive option is honey. All right? Now, the nutritional benefits of honey, unlike sugar, has in trace amounts of very important minerals, all right? And of course, amino acids and antioxidants, all right? It has in also enzymes. And matter of fact, if you get a wound and you're unable to, or you don't want to use antibiotics, you can actually smear that wound with honey. All right? Honey has in antibiotic and healing properties if you don't want to use antibiotics. So it has a medicinal use. Now, you will hear if you got a cough or cold, a little honey. People thought the honey was to mask the vitamin, the sourness of the lime. No. Honey by itself is a cough suppressant. By itself is a cough suppressant. The lime and lemon is just there to add large amounts of vitamin C in a very quick time, in a shot. All right? So understand that honey has an cough suppressant in it. It also can give you allergy relief. If you get all these allergies, honey seems to help a lot. And like I said, it helps in wound healing. Now, the beauty about honey also, it has what you call a lower glycemic index. When you ingest sweets, sugars, your insulin level shoots up because your glucose level is shooting up. All right? So you have this dual effect. Blood glucose levels increase because of the sugar. Blood insulin level increase to take care of the increase in blood sugar. When you use honey, the spike in blood glucose is not as high. It's not as high. Therefore, the insulin spike is not as high either. So what this does, and I told you last week, if you have a situation where you have high concentration of insulin in your blood for extended periods, you run the risk of developing what you call, you remember the name of it? Come on. Tulu?
I don't remember.
Insulin resistance.
Oh.
If you have insulin in your blood for high spikes of insulin in your blood for extended period of time, you cannot get insulin resistance. It means then your insulin is less effective in removing sugar from your blood. Insulin, like I told you last week, high doses of insulin in your blood leads to inflammation in your blood vessels. It can lead to all sorts of issues with circulation, heart disease, those kind of things. So you don't, and of course, diabetes. All right. So the sugars, on the other hand, have a high glycemic index. It means it rushes into your blood, get a big spike of insulin follows, and that can lead to inflammation. All right, and type 2 diabetes. Of course, we know sugar, the soluble sugars, can cause cavities in your mouth. We talked about cavities before. And it can actually change, Tulu, your gut profile of bacteria.
Which sugar are you speaking about?
Any sugar.
The sugar that we're going to do?
Yeah. Any sugar. Well, I'm going to get you a special kind of sugar just now.
Oh, okay.
All right? But if you change, there's bacteria in your stomach, in your gut, your large intestine in particular, which aids in the digestion of
Food.
fibers. All right? All right? So that's cool. And there's some very helpful, necessary bacteria in your gut. If you change that composition, you run the risk of getting all sorts of issues. You can get bloating, diarrhea, what do you call it now? All kind of digestive issues. Gas. So if you're walking on farting all day, tell yourself you might have an issue in your lower intestine. Most like you do. And most of it is coming from either too much fiber or a particular type of fiber or very digestible sugars. And a very particular kind of sugar called fructose, which is fruit sugar. All right? Now, if you look on your label when you buy a soda or you eat those prepared foods with sugars in them, you're going to see a very specific type of sugar. It's called high fructose corn syrup.
That's not good.
HFCS. Look at the label. If you see high fructose corn syrup,
Trouble.
I wouldn't advise it. All right? I wouldn't advise it. High fructose corn sugar is a common sweetener in fruits, in fruit drinks, in processed foods, and it can create a lot of problems for you, including metabolic issues. Those persons who you see, you may have psoriasis or eczema, and it stems a lot from what goes on in your gut. What you see in your skin is an outward manifestation of what's going on inside you. All right? So you have a lot of good stuff out there that you don't need to be challenging your system with. All right? If you want sweetness with either sugar or honey, there's a substance called stevia, which is a plant leaf extract. It has 0 calories. It causes 0 spike in your insulin. And, you know, if you want that, it can cost you some money if you want sweetness. All right? So you got choices.
So the best thing is to go without the sweetness.
The best thing for me is to go with the sweetness. You don't need it.
And Kel, you mentioned honey.
Yeah.
Do you not prefer to advise using the local honey as opposed
Yeah, the dark local honey
Yeah.
is the superior honey. The darker the honey, the more antioxidant it contains. And you remember, antioxidants are the ones who grab up the free radicals in your blood and prevent them from creating cancer cells.
Right.
All right? So the more free radicals you have removed from your system, the better it is for you, that you avoid cancers. But antioxidants are in fresh fruits, teas, green teas.
Yeah.
It's in vegetables. And so you got a lot of choices. A lot of choices. I don't want to see any of you or any of us here get debilitated by something that can be prevented by the choices we make, by what we put in our
It's
in our
interesting
mouths.
you said, Kel, that the researchers speaks to prevention. You know, most of our health care efforts are not directed at prevention, but after the thing has happened.
Trying to cure.
And of course, it costs a lot more money to deal with the instances as opposed to prevention. So I just want to underscore that preventive effort.
Right.
It's cheaper.
Thank you. And the good thing about this kind of programming, you know, people have been calling me and meeting me and telling me, you know, they feel so much better now that they have taken the vitamin shots.
Okay.
You know, they have energy, they don't feel so lethargic. And Tulu is a regular customer now, a regular believer. He gets his shots, you know. And like I said, I mean, a beer costs $5. You're not going to get anything but a big belly from beer, you know. those sweet sodas, Coke and thing cost $5 or $6. You're not gonna get anything but sugar. So the idea is, treat yourself.
And Kel, especially at a time like this when we are facing, when people have less money and the price of food is going up. So it's important for the consumer, for our people, to see how best you could buy the food where you get the most vitamin and so on.
Yeah. Vitamin C, you can't get enough. I mean, your requirement is only 90 milligrams per day. I take 1,000 milligrams per day at minimum. I don't know. Maybe that's why I haven't gotten a cold in a long time.
You don't get that.
And so.
How much you get in an orange?
Oh, you get a lot. You get more than enough, 300 plus milligrams.
All right.
So you got more than enough, but I'm topped up. I'm topped up. 1,000 milligrams. I'm topped up. All right. So, plus, and that don't include any fruits I may eat.
That is not overdosing?
No. You can go up to 2,000 milligrams without any difficulty whatsoever.
Vitamins.
All right. Vitamin C is critical in enhancing your immune system. All right.
And then what foods, Kel?
Oranges, limes, lemons, any kind of citric type fruits. You can go and Google which ones you have available and the quantity of vitamin C you're going to get.
Lots of tamarind around right now.
Lots of tamarind. I got a tamarind tree in my yard. Let me tell you something.
You believe them sour tamarind good?
That thing there, I can only eat a peg once a year. A peg.
Okay, so sour?
It makes your eyes stream water.
Is that sour?
It's that bad. I can't handle that. I really can't. That is too much. For me to make a drink with that, I'll have to put in a pound of sugar, and I ain't doing that.
Well, what's his name? From Brownhill, Pombi Boy, to say, when he goes to sell, he sell by the degree of sweetness. So when he buy tamarind, sweet tamarind costs one price.
Okay.
And sour tamarind costs another price.
Well, I don't mind that because I like tamarind. I like it in food and drink.
But not them up by you.
But not by me, boy. No.
Charity begins at home.
They're different. They're different. You got a guy from Trinidad. He just come by to do some maintenance, and Trini likes sour things like that, and he was like, "Oh my God!" He cried too. He still pick them and go with them. He said, "You're gonna use them sparingly." But I have never in my life, and I've eaten some sour tamarind before. These here are in a class by themselves. I'm telling you.
You can make drink with them.
They're good to make drink, but you have to use copious amounts of sugar if you can get it sweet. The idea is not to get it sweet. Just drink it, because it's full of vitamin C, full of antioxidants, plus other minerals that are good for your health. So, the things that, you remember when we were kids, these things are common.
Very.
And we never had the conditions we are having now.
No.
I never knew growing up, getting so sick so frequently with colds and flus and these kind of things. We have strayed away from the things that we grew up with.
The natural thing.
And this is why we are at the stage we are, with diabetes running rampant, blood pressure, strokes, heart disease, kidney disease. This is what we have strayed away from what worked for us.
That is so true.
All right?
We
So,
get them in the shop now. You ever ate the tamarind leaves?
no.
We used to do that. We used
Yeah,
to chew them up and
Yeah.
swallow the juice.
We had money to buy good stuff.
This is why people using the bad stuff now, because they have money.
They have
to buy
money.
this stuff. In my days, I could buy them. So we had to use them like that.
We had Babel. We had Babel.
We had the Babel, yes.
And we used to go by Miss Nisbet
And get the halfie
and get a penny sugar
and
cake
get the penny sugar cake.
with the Babel. So with that combination kind of spared you a lot because the high sugar with the Babel,
There's something, Kel, when we were growing, we used to eat a lot of coconut. And then some study came out about 30 years ago, say coconut is bad. And it back now saying, boy, coconut is good for you.
This is good.
Yeah, it goes like that because you must understand who are saying these things have a vested interest.
Oh, yes, to poison us.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on real quick.
Right.
If you guys listen to the House of the Parliament, the Federal Parliament this week, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday. All right, they put to the public a bill, which is now law, dealing with pension and gratuity for non-established workers, or I think it's to call them
GAE.
GAE, Government Auxiliary Employees. The same thing. NE or GAE is talking about the same people. All right? So that legislation has been passed in the House, and the government is patting itself on the back. Mark Brantley is not so happy with all the contents of the bill. Now, in a nutshell, I want to share with you the essence of it. To qualify for a pension, if you're GAE or NE, you need to have worked 15 continuous years, no breaks, with 15 continuous years of contribution. Because remember now, 3% is coming out of the employee's pay. You remember back in 2024, I believe, Dr. Drew gave an 8% pay raise, 3% of which was going to go towards the pension plan for the workers on St. Kitts. The Premier of Nevis said, no, he don't have no money to put in no 3%. So the 3% going to come out of the employees on Nevis salary. In which way, 3% will be collected and put into a pension fund for your retirement after 15 continuous years of service. You also get a gratuity after 10 years. All right? A gratuitous payment that you have earned.
You qualify for it, but you don't have to take it.
You don't have to take it.
Okay.
You can take it at 10 years or you take it when you finish at 15. All right? Of course, the longer you work, the bigger the gratuity, so it'd be advisable. Don't take it at 10 if you're going to stay into the service till your 15 years of service. All right? That is advisable. Now, okay. Now, I remember in 2020, we in NRP were talking about a pension and gratuity plan for the NE workers on Nevis.
Of course.
And ahead of the 2020 elections, Mark Brantley and his government went into Parliament and passed, when it wasn't a law, it not even was an ordinance, they were talking about a policy to provide benefits along that same line, compensation for gratuity and pension. They did that in 2020. Ahead of the elections of 2020. So it's all political theater.
So what have they done since?
2020, they went to the House and did this. Big grand announcement. Nothing happened for 2 years. 2022, they went back into the House. Same thing. All right? And said, well, this is in your policy about gratuity and pension. This time, they did something. They had a formula that said you get X amount for gratuity, X amount for your pension. But the big song and dance and the deception was that there was no new money added to it. By that I mean, those NE workers on Nevis, the money that was taken or that was withdrawn from the holiday pays and whatever used to pay the severance, whatever money that used to go to workers at Christmas time was withheld.
Was held back, yeah.
It was not. So when the Premier said that there's a pension plan and there's a gratuity payment, he did not put any new money in. He simply did not pay all those bonuses and holiday pay that the NE workers used to get.
So he rechanneled the money.
He rechanneled the money. He repurposed the money. So there was no new money. All right? It gets worse. It gets worse. Because when you look at the pay package for politicians, Henry, you are a politician.
Yes.
All right? They have set themselves up magnificently.
For good.
Magnificently. So while if you are any worker or an established worker, you have to put in 15 years, right? 15 years. For a politician, 8. For a politician, 8 years and you get a pension. And not only no little penny pension, almost 75% of what your salary was, your last salary was, you get it back in pension. So you can be, say you come into politics at 32. By 40, you are set for life. Because that pension kicks in the same day you get kicked out of office. We have to wait till we're 50.
55.
This one is 50.
50.
50. Okay.
We have to wait. But these politicians, they have feathered their nest so that they get the best of everything.
Yeah, but Kelly, if you do the 15 years, you can't get the money till you're 50.
You can't get it till you're 50.
Oh. So I put in I started at 20. At 35, I say, boy, I find a better job somewhere. I have to leave that day till I'm 50.
Let me backtrack. I can't say definitively yet. What Brandy was saying in the house is that once you've reached 15 years, 15 years, and you walk away, you're qualified. Yeah. He did not say when the payment going to start.
But with
so I need to get a copy of the legislation to verify if it starts exactly when you leave, or if you're not at the age of 50 yet, or whatever age, then it kicks in.
Because the regular civil service pension, Kel, for which you do not contribute, says after 10 years you get a gratuity.
Yeah.
After 15, you qualify for a pension at age 50.
Okay.
But after 25 years, you can get a gratuity and a pension right away. So let us suppose you got into the service at age 20. By age 45, you can walk away with your pension and gratuity.
Gratuity, of course.
That is what makes it so much different from this.
Yeah.
This one here.
Well, I need to get full details about it, but I have not seen the document yet, so I'll have to come back another broadcast and give the cutoff date so when you can apply. But I want to share some tapes with you that from that exchange on St. Kitts, because it's very interesting. It tells me point blank that this premier we have is jealous even of poor people.
No, he's not jealous.
He is jealous even of poor people. And when you listen to him, you want to understand why I say what I said. Let's go to the first tape. All right, this one here is talking about pension refund.
Jealous of poor people.
This one is talking about pension refund. Let's go to this one.
When a contributor ceases to be employed in the public service and is not entitled to a gratuity under this part, an amount equal to the total of his or her contributions to the pensions fund with interest shall be paid to him or her, or where the contributor is deceased, to his or her estate or personal representative, as the case may be. Now this to me now starts to sound like a savings scheme. Start to sound like a bank account rather than a pension fund. As I say, when I look at the Social Security Fund, it's a good example of what has worked and worked well. You anticipate people paying in to sustain the fund. So if you are saying that people who pay in and after 8 years they migrate to America, they tell you, hey, I'm moving to New York, please send my money back. And the accountant general now must calculate how much ever they paid in plus interest and give them back their money. I think there's a question of sustainability of the fund, and we will have to look carefully at that.
Now here's the thing. Let me condense this for you. To get a gratuity, you would have had to have served minimum of 10 years.
Yeah.
All right? They are taking out your money.
Yeah.
They are taking out your money to put into this gratuitous fund. All right? What the legislation is speaking to is that if you do not complete your 10 years, then a refund must be given to you with the money you put in.
Yeah, but that happened to be with the National Provident Fund, Kel.
Hold on.
Nothing new.
Hold on. Let's go to the line here.
That's nothing new.
Good afternoon, Target.
Good afternoon, brethren.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We touch it and make it business to this scenario, right? You see, politician is not to play with, right? Every Labor Day, Labour go patrol those fields, and they don't march, and they promise people. All them central, they don't promise people already, you know. They don't promise people already, them don't know. Me, I talk about some kind of snake company, then let's go break up, you know. If people call you all like me, you know, think it, then they should break up. Because then they're going to take what they want, and give people what they want to put them in office. They don't care work all the time, you know. They cannot work. Them things got to break up. I don't see, but see, this country can't run without people. Somebody got to run the country. But we cannot find nobody who can look for poor people. So now,
Okay.
when they're up, they know everything. When they're in, they don't know nothing. Up to this morning, she was here, it went down by the public market in Tinket, down here, Tinket here. Spend up about 2 to 3 hours in the market, conversation with people and so on. But the thing about it is that when they're in, some people say they're not going to say more go here, they're not going to say more go there. Yeah, it's when they say you can say more go anyway. So sometimes they can't in the office 12 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 1 o'clock. That's a time, but they're working for their heads on people every day. You know? Now they want people come out and if we hear nonsense, they don't have to talk about. No, it's labor talk about. Can and nonsense, what they do, and unity don't do nothing. Some never do nothing. All I bypass the word, they must carry labor. Carrying back people, all back down by pressure. With this generation here. Why? I don't know what to do here.
Thank you, sir. All right. Now, let me finish this. So what this legislation is speaking to is a refund of the money that you contributed.
Exactly.
You put in X, you get out X, plus interest, because they've been using your money.
Because you did not reach
Because you did not reach to the age at which you get a lump sum payment. You didn't reach the 10-year threshold. You work for 1 year, 2 years, up to 9 years, 10, just before 10 years. What this legislation is saying, you will get back your refund plus interest. And to hear the Premier of Nevis get up there in Parliament and say he don't think this is a good idea, that this is not sustainable. The people have put in their money. It is their paycheck that the money is taken out of. And if you do not, if you choose not to continue into the job, give me back what I put in. It's only fair. But what Brantley, hold on, Hensley. Sorry. What Brantley is saying to the people of Nevis, right? He doesn't care, because it is supposed to be something similar to the Social Security scheme.
No.
Right? So, Mr. Brantley, when you put your money in the bank and you forget it for 9 years, you should get it back. Nobody should. You should stay there because what? You're generous? No. The people who money was taken out, the legislation is protecting their interests by giving them back what they put in. Jesus Christ. What is so difficult with this? Why does this man want to keep people poor? Why you want to rob people of their income? These are any workers.
And
you understand what I'm saying to you?
And the pesmal kill.
These are the bottom of the civil service or the public service with the less pay, least benefits, least protection, and Jesus Christ, you want to take back the little bit they get because they choose to move on? Come on, man. We are better than this. And so I applaud the government, Dr. Drew's government, for this addition to it, this conversation. Because before that, there was no protection.
There was no protection. And they work hard like everybody else.
They work harder.
Exactly. The people who go up the hospital, clean the hospital floors, keep the building, keep the hospital clean, cook the food at the hospital, wash all the laundry and everything. Do that regularly. I'm always thinking of somebody like my good friend Janet Hall from Brown Pasture. Worked at the hospital, Kel, for 47 years. 47 years, and you're saying to her that if she had put in her money, what is wrong with making it into a savings account? What is wrong? No problem with that.
Here's the situation. Give me 1 second. If you look at the list of concessions Mark Brantley gives to white people, rich people.
Goodness.
If you look at the list of the millions of dollars in concession Brantley gives to expats, and he has the balls to stand up in our national parliament and say that cook that bus driver, that crossing guard, that beach walker don't deserve to get their money back if they move on. Tulu, go ahead.
And it seems to me from what you're saying that it is not even right across the board, because those who reach 10 years prior will get gratuity or pension.
Mm-hmm.
The legislation is saying that those who did not make it to 10 should be
refunded.
You give them back the money.
Because there's nothing there to gain. If you make it to 10, you have something to go forward with. But those below that, I don't see the argument that the Premier was making.
But the two critical things are one, as Kel was just saying, these are the lowest levels of income in the civil service. So there's no lot of money to be gained. And secondly, there is precedent for this. When the Social Security scheme was established in 1978, prior to that, there was a National Provident Fund. People who had contributed to the National Provident Fund, they say, hey, the fund is now a Social Security fund. So you got back your money. People got back their money. And, you know, I heard Sir Simeon Daniel say something years ago during the 1992 election campaign. And it rings true based on what he's saying. He says, every time you say you're going to do something for the poor, for the little people, this was his exact word, you find all kinds of people opposed. But when he goes to cabinet, when the rich people come, nobody knows, because those matters are kept private. You understand? But he said, every time you do something for the little people in the country, you have this resistance. But who does he represent, Kel?
Himself.
Ah, okay.
Every member of the CCM party is in there to represent themselves. And I am agreeing with Kel, because I have satisfied myself in the last 2-3 months that the Concerned Citizens Movement, their motive is to set themselves up. Get into office, make sure they make it to the 8 years, they're set for the rest of their lives, they don't give two kicks about the rest of us. Sadly, too many of us do not understand that they're basically about themselves. Everything that the Premier has done from he entered into politics, we can see clearly when you analyze what he's doing, it is all about him. Setting up himself, and now not setting up himself, but setting up his wife's business to make sure that both he, from his political view as the premier politician, plus his law firm, plus his wife's business, the combination 1, 2, 3 is about them, nobody else.
I think I have said repeatedly that, and I think I have said so several times, the CCM wasn't formed to help in no development in Ibis. It was formed primarily, A, for personal reasons, and B, to keep NRP out of office. All right?
So,
well, to keep Nevis down then.
Let me remind people that the pension scheme for NE workers is a contributory scheme.
Unlike the other one.
Unlike the pension scheme for
regular workers.
For regular workers. So established workers and the politicians.
Yeah.
So you're saying the regular workers put nothing
into the
scheme?
Nothing.
We don't put anything.
Put nothing into the scheme.
No.
So the NE workers put the money into the scheme, coming back to them. So they basically didn't give us anything.
No.
Well,
I think the pension, fellows, is based on the fact that, as we know throughout the system, salaries in the public service are small in relation to private sector and so on. And so some people, the only thing you have remaining is when you do the 25 years and you get a little something. And that's how you can look after some of the fundamental things.
Good afternoon, you're on target.
Dr. Daly.
My friend. Good afternoon.
Mr. Tulu.
My brother.
And Mr. Daniel.
Good afternoon.
Okay. You are on the topic of pension schemes and everything, but it is gonna augur nicely with what I'm about to come to. Mr. Daniel, you remember when Premier Parry was in charge? What did he say about people who coming in to get what they call it, work permits? If you got people here who was skilled to do the job, should we be bringing in people?
No, we checked to make sure we had the people. And interestingly enough, we had representation from some of the workers who indicated to us that they were able to provide the service. And as such, we refused the work permits for persons. That's a fair thing. You have workers, you don't need to import them.
Yes, sir. The last maybe week and a half, I've been inundated with emails and whatever regarding people coming in from overseas to work at different places. I'm not going to say where.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people who are there, who are skilled, who have the expertise, they have the years. They've been doing it. And the CCM government came in, and guess what? You know, we got a friend who is a villa owner, and I got a power of attorney. So, you know what I mean? I'm not going to say anything further. I'm out.
Thank you, sir.
Part of the problem that we had in that, while Parry was standing up for the people of Nevis, CCM, and in particular the present premier, was out there blasting him, and he reached the point where he called Mr. Parry a racist, because Parry said Nevision came first. The bigger problem is not the premier. Is those who Parry and NRP was stood up for. They themselves turned around and voted for him. Okay, so they voted against themselves. Mm-hmm. That is what we have on the island. And so, even there, you are right. While Parry was standing up for the people of Nevis, Mark Brantley was fighting for expats to come in and take over all the management jobs on the island. He supported that. And the people, or the voters of Nevis, did not see that. They were not looking after their own interests. I hope that the table has turned, and I believe the table has turned. The next election is going to be different.
You must understand the logic behind Brantley's position. Brantley has lost the trust of the local division on the ground. So he's seeking a new demographic to boost his numbers. And persons, whether consciously or subconsciously, once they are given a work permit to work on Nevis, so somehow they feel obligated to the government that's in power. And so it's a deliberate attempt, actually, to skew or to streamline those voters into a particular party. All right? And it has worked in the past. It has worked effectively. All right? It still comes down to the fact that there are more of us than them.
Of course.
And if more of us decided this is enough,
with a sense of national pride,
and all of us decide that our children coming into sixth form and fifth form, those who went to trade schools in wherever, coming to CFBC technical division, they deserve a chance to eat off the table rather than picking up the crumbs. Then we have to take stock of that. But we tend to look at all things tribally. Mm-hmm. And so CCM will always look, no matter what the circumstance, towards CCM, all right, and do what they feel necessary to stay in power, not necessarily what is best for the country. All right, I got another tape. It continues about this thing. Let's listen to this one.
But a problem that we have had in Nevis is that some people get to 62.
Let's let this go. Good afternoon, you're on target. Hello, good afternoon, you're on target. Hello? We lost that call.
Person can call back.
Well, the person can call back, but we lost that call, unfortunately. I don't know, maybe he was driving under a bridge. Let's go to the
tape.
The tape.
But a problem that we have had in Nevis is that some people get to 62 and then they may have some special skill that you want to hold on to. And the difficulty sometimes is that the way that the legislation is framed, they have argued that I should get my pension and I should get my full salary on top of that. So if I was working for $5,000 a month, just drawing a reference, you bring me back, so I want me $5,000, and on top of that, I want my pension. And what used to happen Some people used to retire Friday and come back Monday. When they retire Friday, they start to get their pension. Let us say the salary, again, using my example, is 5,000 a month. Let's say the pension is 3,000. Just drawing a reference. So they retire Friday, they start to get the 3,000. They come back Monday and they say, I want back the 5,000 that I used to get. Except now they're getting the 5 plus 3. So over the weekend, their salary gone from 5,000 a month to 8,000. And we've had that age-old argument as to how you compensate people if they come back into the system. Well, I think Section 33 seeks to finally put the matter to bed. And it says, Section 33(2), if a pensioner is re-employed in the public service after attaining the age of 62, no pension shall be paid until his or her re-employment comes to an end. I believe that's a very important section. What it says is that if you retire under Section 30 at 62, but you're brought back for whatever reason, then you're not going to get any pension. You get your salary. And you only start to get pension when you stop work. Put differently, don't expect that you're going to get both. That has been a concern, and I believe that that concern now has been addressed.
Gentlemen, I have never been.
Oh my goodness.
Let's take this call.
Yeah, that's better to hear.
Good afternoon, you're on target.
Good afternoon, Dr. Daly. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are yourself?
I am good. This is Mervyn Handy.
Hey.
Good day.
I've been listening and speaking about the pension.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Now, you have while you guys are there talking, it just dawned on me that Alexis Jeffers, he would have served 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
Well, more than 8 years. So he has a pension from the local office, from Nevis.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be, from my calculation, close to about $9,000 if you're going to use the 75% formula, just about.
Yeah.
Now, that's $9,000. Follow me for a second. And then the same Alexis Jeffers who would have lost his seat, the premier picked him up, dusted him off, and he's now making $10,000 as senior advisor to the premier.
Mm-hmm.
So when you add that now, we're close to just over $19,000 a month,
Mm-hmm.
because he's getting his pension. Remember that.
Yes.
It doesn't end there. Then we have Alexis Jeffers being a federal representative.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe their pay now is just about $5,200 as a member of parliament.
Mm-hmm.
So when you add that, 19 plus 5, I'm not a mathematician, but I'm sure that's over $24,000.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't end there. Alexis Jeffers, he would also receive a constituency allowance being an elected representative. And with that, Daily, you're hitting close $26,000, $27,000 close around there. So Alexis Jeffers is going home every month with over $25,000. $25,000. Let that sink in. People in St. James, they can't find jobs. All around Nevis, people are struggling. But here it is, someone who lost his seat, heartless, greed, over $25,000 a month. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir. Wonderful analysis.
Yes.
People, when you put things in that kind of perspective, dollars and cents, people start understanding the gravity and to understand why these guys are going to put everything on the line to keep winning elections. It has nothing to do with service to the people.
I said that.
Nothing at all. It has all to do about their pockets.
But the caller made a great point, Dr. Daly. Because here it is, the Premier is saying that at 62, it requires that you're automatically retired.
Mm-hmm.
They want you back and they call you back and bring you back. You will not get your pension. because you're back in the system. But the minister could get pension, call back and pay the higher salary.
Let's go this way. Good afternoon, you on target.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, sir. How about thou?
I'm excellent. Interesting the numbers that just Mr. Hanley just mentioned. I guess what it is Mr. Jeffers is working as a consultant.
He's an advisor.
Well, that's a consultant.
Okay.
Consultant's advice. So my recommendation to any civil servant who retires on Friday and goes back on Monday, don't go back as an employee, go back as a consultant. That's where you get the pension and the consulting fee.
Have a good day.
The other thing is, regarding any workers' pension. Okay. If they don't get a refund, let's assume, I'm just taking a number, 3,000 a month. Is that roughly correct?
Well, yeah. Well, you can pick any number you want.
Okay, 3,000 a month. Well, 3,000 a month, if you work out that over 5 years, and then you take the 3% of that, that comes out that they have contributed, has been taken out of their wage, $5,400. Okay? Over the 5-year period, which is the term of an administration.
All right.
All right? So, if you are any worker, every 5 years, they're taking out $5,400 from you. And when they say they're not going to give it back to you?
That's what Brantley is saying.
Well, I tell you what. If you want me to vote for you, you better give me $7,000. Pay me back my 5,400 plus 2.
Okay then. Have a wonderful day. All right. Lord. Again, when you put numbers to things, it makes more sense.
Well, I mean,
let me get out this one here, because this one here.
Another tip?
No. Oh, this one is particularly bothersome to me.
I want to hear your take on that.
If I retire at 62, which is mandatory now, and my using the figures that Brantley presented, and my salary, last salary was 5,000 in the job I was doing. And let's say my pension is $3,000. What Brantley has done, terribly done, is to add the 5 plus the 3 and say, oh, you're getting an $8,000 salary now. It is not. Apples and oranges.
Of course.
Apples and oranges. One has nothing to do with the other.
No.
But he's trying to be clever by saying all of a sudden, you're gone from working on 5,000 on Friday to 8,000 on Monday. You have earned
the pension.
That $3,000 pension, Mr. Brantley.
After 40 years in the public service.
After all these years, man.
40 years.
One has nothing to do with the other.
But also,
and I fault this legislation put forward by Dr. Drew to have agreed with Brantley's analysis.
They agree?
They agreed. The legislation speaks to the same thing Brantley said, that you cannot get both at the same time. You have to forfeit your pension until you retire. I'm saying one has nothing to do with the other. That salary of 5,000 is what the position calls for. What used to happen in Nevis, and this is what Brantley's policy was, it adds up to the same thing. This is what he went into and I codified basically in 2022 and said to the people of Nevis, if you retire with $5,000 salary and your pension was $3,000 salary, we will pay you your $3,000 pension. But the salary now drops from 5,000 to 2,000.
So that you only end up with the 5.
You only end up with 5.
Yes.
So you're doing the same amount of work, 8-hour shifts, for $2,000 that before you used to get $5,000
But Kel,
for.
if you went to the private sector, you would say, look, I'm a $5,000 a month man.
Yes.
And so the private sector would say, well, all right, you made $5,000 in the government. Based on your qualification and your experience, we might pay you 6 or 5. So you are really, this year really is to hamstring people who could not work, who were unable to find work. But also, Kel, most importantly, remember, I don't know of any public servants who, at that level, go back and say, please let me work. It's the government that's calling them back. So if the government wants you to work,
irrespective of who wants to work,
yeah,
it is immoral.
For you to
it
be
is
that.
unethical to be combining the two numbers and say we can't pay you that. You have earned your pension.
Your pension has nothing to do
You
with
have done everything by the book
for the
to
pension.
earn your pension. How can this be conflicted?
No.
Or conflated? Conflated with what the post called for? The post calls for $5,000.
Is a $5,000?
I earned that 3,000 pension for 30 years in the service. That ain't yours to look at.
No.
That's yours to pay me.
Exactly.
It is better, they had said, after 62, regardless of what your skill sets are, that we will not take you back into the service. Secondly, it is for the individual to say, hey, I'm not coming back. It is better that I take my pension and go home and sit down than to come back and work for you for the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years with no increase.
Let's take this. Good afternoon, you're on target.
Good afternoon, Dr. Daly and the other guys.
Good afternoon.
May I remind you all, after the 93 inconclusive election, the first order of business our only living national hero as Prime Minister did was to go into Parliament and made amendment to the pension law. So that the politicians, the Prime Minister would have gotten 100% of his salary. The ministers would have gotten 75% of their salary. But to sweeten the coffee for the civil servants that were politically appointed, you would have served 10 years as an appointed civil servant. You could have resigned, get a pension, and move on. And with the 15 years and so on, and then you get your gratuity and your pension. Now, if you listen carefully to what they're saying, well, I don't have a problem with you paying to your pension planner, because when I worked in the private sector, we paid 5% into it, while the private people that we worked for paid 7%. But there was a catch to it. If you serve the 10 years, right, then you and leave, you will get all that you put in, what you and the company put in. But if you leave before that, you would only get what you put in.
You get a refund, yeah.
It's simple.
Right? And that is basically what it is all about. I'm simply saying, and talking about people leaving. People not going to leave. What people want, job security. You want to know that when I get up in the morning, I have somewhere to go and turn my head, because I have a wife, 2 children to work for, plus me keep on she on. And those kind of things to contend with. You can laugh as much as you like, Mr. Daniel, but certain things reminds me of certain things.
Yes, yes.
You understand? There are some things you would like to forget. Some things you could forget. But there are some things you could never forget. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.
Tulu, you had a contribution to make. What is your opinion about the apples and oranges argument?
Well, it's two different arguments. I always contended, because somebody brought the same situation to me already.
Hold on. We got a call coming on.
Pensions a serious business, boy.
Good afternoon, you're on target.
Good afternoon. It's something the man said. I never call them back. They call back physical terms because they are campaign.
Okay.
What you mean to say? You can lose your party here, but you can volunteer. We are the pension you get, and then young people in the constituency get their work there. A politician them fall. So the money some go home with, things go home with, suspension. And people are not, they got the biggest constituency, number 8. Some artists really too monkeys. And you can't find nobody who can work in a city group because they can't pay.
Okay.
Because of money.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
No, you're saying
I
too.
would say somebody brought the very same situation to me. They were working, reached the age of retirement and retired, and they were called back because we need you. And said, and he nervous. And what they did, they cut the salary they were giving the pension, and then cut the salary down to
match
what they
What
were getting
you were
before.
getting.
And I told the person, listen, if it was me, I wouldn't have got done it. And person said, well, I love the people of the country, so I come back on behalf to help the people of the country. I wouldn't have done it. Because if I put in my 30-something years, qualified for my pension, you said that I have to retire at a particular time. I put in my resignation because you said this is the time I have to go. You said to me you want me. Pay me my money. Pay me both.
What is instructive, gentlemen, is that when the argument came up about double salary, the double salary that Eric, Zook, and Brantley were getting, and are getting, or were getting in the case of Zook, in the federal and local assembly, they were saying they deserve the double. It did not matter to
Two
them.
different assignments.
It did not matter to them that you were getting, because of the combined salaries, this huge payout. It did not matter to them. What's going on? All right? It did not matter to them. They took the double salary. They took the double bonus at Christmas time. But here it is. These hypocrites are saying to public servants, you can't get both, but we could get both. We can serve two masters. You can't get both because you're poor. This is the kind of nonsense that this government has been getting away with. I want to see which CCM support out there. Because I said this is a good idea. That Mark Brantley has my backing on this. I love this idea. I want to go back to work for half I used to work for. And I love it. You're not getting any less hours, less responsibilities.
The same responsibility.
I want to see any CCM supporter come on this show, meet me on the road anywhere, and tell me, Daly, you're wrong. Mark Brantley is right. Dr. Drew is right. The government can't afford you. They bring me back. I want to pay me half of what I used to work for. Same hours, same responsibilities. And because I'm getting a pension I work for 40 years, you want to take that and put it aside? That is mine to spend how I want. Not you.
I believe
that has nothing to do with the equation.
That's true.
Nothing at all.
I believe if you go to them and beg them to keep you on longer, and they say, listen, this is the condition that we'll take you on under, I could understand that argument. But you tell me I must go. That's the legislation. I must go. I have to go. So I follow the legislation. You come now and telling me that you want me back. Then you should be on my terms.
I am disappointed with this part of the legislation. Terribly disappointed. And they need to really re-examine this position. Really examine it. We have one more tape. One more tape, which I'm going to share with you now. Here it is.
Speaker, that as the country grows, we are small. The last census only put us at 52,000 people total. And there may come a point when even the government will have to fight to retain workers if our economy continues to grow and develop. And I'm just wondering if you're saying to public servants, you're saying to NE workers, to GAE workers, that once you're paying and you leave before 10 years, because 10 years is the cutoff for you to get a gratuity, that you get all your money back with interest. What is the incentive for our workers to stay? I'm thinking about it in those terms because if I could just get out what I put in with interest and move on, and a job is offered to me over at Coy or over at Marriott, I tell the government, give me my money, and I gone. So we now start to think about, is it not important for our workers to think, you know what, let me get to 10 years to get my gratuity, let me get to 15 years to get my pension, as the case may be. Again, I don't know what the thinking is, but I'm concerned by the idea that you're refunding people in.
This man is sick.
No.
This man is sick. Sick. S-I-C-K with capital letters. Sick. Because his whole premise is that people should not elevate themselves if they have the opportunity to. They should stay there in a low-paying job.
Yeah.
May stay there in an abusive relationship and not move because you have not gotten the 10 years or the 15 years.
No.
You ever heard such insult to the intelligence of people? You ever hear such condescension where you're telling people stay there and take bad treatment, bad salary?
You could get a better job at
and
Marriott.
you can go, don't go, stay here and get. If you want to be competitive, Mr. Premier, if you want to have civil servants being competitive, pay them right, treat them right, and they will stay. People don't leave good things.
Nobody runs from good.
Right? And so if you wanted an initiative to keep and be competitive, pay the people right. Give them training. Qualify them to join the establishment. Whatever you need to do to be competitive. But to tell somebody you cannot leave with a refund. Man, come on. Come on, man. I wonder if this guy just hear himself talk.
No, he has a gripe.
Let's take this call here.
I have a question.
Good afternoon, you're on target.
Good afternoon again, gentlemen. The more I think about this 3% and you don't get a refund. So if you don't work the full 15 years, this 3%, it's not government money, you know, it came out of your paycheck.
That's right.
Yeah.
Am I correct? Yes?
Yes.
But that means it's income tax.
It is.
It's a tax. It's not government's money. It's your money. And furthermore, with any pension scheme, they don't just put the money in a box, you know.
You invest it, that's right.
They invest it and they earn interest and so on and so on. Right? So, in fact, the money after 5 years, I think I said it was about $5,400.
Mm-hmm.
In reality, it's about $7,000.
With interest.
Because, yeah, I'm saying they have had your money, they've invested it. It has been earning interest, so it has grown. Unless, of course, they just put it in a box and with a little padlock on it, you know. Mm-hmm. But other than that, if it's not refunded to you, because it is your contribution, what they're basically saying is that it's a 3% income tax.
Mm-hmm. You're paying to the government.
Right.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Good analysis. Thank you.
You know, Kel, I also want to ask something. I don't know what the legislation says. Suppose after 8 years, I qualify myself to the point where I can now where I can now move into the regular system. Am I allowed to move from one to the other?
I don't know that answer to that.
Because that to me is important, because people begin at different levels. You might go to college or whatever, or get a skill or whatever.
You can start as any and finish up as established.
As established.
Yeah.
So I want to see that, and I want to know that you can carry your years with you. For instance, when we began working in the public service, it took a long time to appoint us while we were teaching. They never used to pay us during the holidays. And when we got appointed now, we asked that those years be
considered, of course.
So those are some of the things but based on what the government here is saying, the leader of the government, you can well imagine, Kel, that they may not even facilitate people. Because the idea is to keep people down. I remember speaking to Alfonso Lewis, who was the head of establishments for the government in St. Kitts. And you know what he said? He said, boy, you know, I spoke to him when I was leaving the public service. He said, man, the trouble is, every effort is normally made by us, the public servants, girl, to facilitate the workers. The problem we have is the politicians. And there is where, in listening to this is what you have. Louis says, mind you, he's the man in charge of establishments. Alfonso Louis he said, look, even though some things were not straight, we kind of, because think about somebody who is cleaning the hospital. They might have been out because of illness in the family or some other trouble, and they miss a little 6 months. Do you say to them, you didn't do, this year says you continue 15 years?
You don't, that's...
I mean, come on. Where is the empathy? Where is the kind of compassion we hear about in this that we are supposed to have?
Hensley, a dollar has in 4 quarts. If I want to take 2 quarts for myself, that means you let 2 quarts for everybody else. So people just understand this is a subtraction and addition argument. The more I give to you, the less I have for myself.
Because you want it for you.
Okay then.
All right.
Let's go to the phone lines.
It's you first, you second, and you third.
Good afternoon, on target.
Yeah, good afternoon to you fellows in the studio.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to the listening public.
Good afternoon.
Well, that nigga man, you know, walk up on this country and come beg us to work. Because that's the way he did, you know. Nobody did went to beg him to come work for us. He come beg us a job. So he could look after us. He could deal with our feelings. But that's how he deal with our feelings. Every time the man get a chance to beat them poor people, that's how he do. Because they're going to use for poor people. That nigga man there. Sorry that he born in a poverty. But he shouldn't sorry. He kind of raised in a none. He do not raise in a poverty. So he never not more poverty. He only said to us as a people. He only said to the people who inhabit this land. He only said to individuals, home and abroad, now we get him rid. And a demon there because that's how he is. Now we get him rid of the man. A time for us to join together as one people. Because watch you know, these politicians are all in the numbers. They're all in the numbers. Now we join together. Get rid of the demon. Because that's how it is. He's all demon. Good afternoon.
Thank you, sir.
So Kelly, you were saying if you have 4 quarts and you want more for you, your interest is to make sure I get none. You
get
take,
very little of it.
You take 3 and give me 1.
Good afternoon, you're on target.
A blessed good afternoon to each and every one of you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I listen that here up a needy. And I always think that he grudges poor people. All that we ain't have nothing. Because when he gonna go and say people are down in a shop, they drunk, they want go work and they want thing money, I always say that he grudges poor people. We put them in there to work for us. And they went and take this amount of money and still grudge us for the little pickings that they might give us. And that is bad. And I'm glad for you all that when they go in the house and they start to talk nonsense, that you could come out and educate us because sometimes we don't even know what they're saying in the house. So I'm glad for you all to come out and break it down, the lemon language that we could understand. You all have a good afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that.
Kel, I was just sharing something. In the regular pension system, you had something called a married woman's gratuity. So, for instance, a woman might have done, say, 10, 12 years, maybe not to the 25 years then, and she has to join her husband in another country. You give her something. You know what I mean? So there was this intent to really help the person. So nowadays, you have, I mind you that from the colonial era, you have the people who we know and who we elect. And this is what you are saying to us?
Well, I think there was a discussion in the House about that. Oh, let's take this call. Good afternoon, you're on target.
Dr. Daly, how are you?
Yeah, you greeted me already. I'm still here.
Yeah, you're a scientist and you're a scientist and you're an agriculturalist. You ever see them cattle when they're eating in the pasture?
Head down.
You ever see what you does ever check them out?
Yeah, what's up with them out?
Yeah, Restream.
No. You ever see like frat coming out them out?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. All right. So me want to ask a question. So if the Premier of Navies today, whoever the Premier is, can nobody gonna send me a liar letter? If he dies, God forbid, I'm not calling nothing on nobody, guys. People like to say. What he's saying is all that time he put in, and you know the law says you get what, every term you get, or what's it? Every term you get qualified for gratuity or whatever, pension, whatever.
Yeah, what's the point?
He said. So what he's saying, that should go back into the system?
No, it doesn't apply to premiers. Once if you're a premier and you're deceased, your benefits go to your wife.
So the premier is more of a man.
And the prime minister too, eh? And the prime minister too.
Only them.
Only them.
The prime minister.
Yeah.
But the prime minister didn't say it. The prime minister didn't say it.
No, it's in the law.
It's in the law, you know. It's in the law that if you are prime minister or premier, if you're deceased, then your pension goes to your wife.
Yeah.
Exactly, but the point I'm trying to make is why is he now coming to bring the point to the fore that if you work for all these years and you die, you got a wife or you got whatever, it can't go to your next of kin. I don't get it.
But the legislation speaks to that now. The legislation says quite clearly that income now goes to your wife or your estate.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That never used to happen before. So the new legislation mandates that your pension no longer can be held. It has to go to, I don't know how much of it or for how long, but it has to be. I'm really looking forward to get a copy of the legislation.
Yeah, I want to read it.
So I can dive down into it.
I want to be fair. So was he trying to defend the fact that it shouldn't go to your next of kin or it should go to your next of kin?
He is not in support of anything like that. He not in support of the fund. He not in support of persons leaving before the 10-year gratuity. He not in support of this apples and oranges argument that you work for a pension and your salary and pension could come together. You know, so he voted for the bill, but he is distinctly against a lot of these provisions.
That's just crazy. That's crazy. I'm out.
Thank you, sir. Gentlemen.
Any more tips?
No. I have one here, but I ain't about to play that because we are moving a little too fast to the hour. But the whole thing about this is this, right? You have a premier of a country like Nevis who has done everything in his power to disenfranchise poor people, to separate poor people from their income. He made a big song and dance during his presentation, his preamble, to say that, people working 40 years and walking with two long hands. But my God, you have been there since 2013 as part of the NIA. How can you come now to the public with a straight face and say, we didn't do enough? But who are you talking about? Who's we? You are part of the team in the government that sets the laws about pension and gratuity. And you're now coming and saying, this nonsense? Let's take this call. Good afternoon, you're on target.
Yeah, good afternoon again.
Mm-hmm.
You keep a big song and dancing tongue in the house over the fact that poor people shouldn't get paid. And that's what you're doing, you know. He don't feel like poor people supposed to get money. I know him. I know who he is. When we want him though, go down there and keep a big show and dance over our fair share. That's how I want him though. Just look how you don't keep this song and dance. Put on there. Go keep a song and dance over our fair share. Good afternoon.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Kel, I just want to say one other thing on the pension. one single thing. Pensions are emerging as major matters. In Trinidad, a big part of the election results was connected to people could not get their pensions. And as a result, people went to vote with a vengeance for the UNC because you need to get your pension. It is a serious matter after people have worked, whatever political machinations there are. People are not into that. I work and I should get my money. The audacity that you could contribute 8 years of funds and because you leave, you don't get any money. What are we hearing here?
Well, thankfully, the bill overrides his objection.
Okay.
And is now law. All right. So he can't do anything about that. All right.
No,
maybe he could not pay you in EBIS, you know.
Well, his concern. He kept saying there are certain aspects of the bill he likes because of the lower cost to the NIA. This is what he was saying. I can save some money. You are talking about the lowest paid public servants on the island of Nevis and St. Kitts, and you say you are glad
to save money from them.
To save money from them.
From the
What?
lowest of the law.
You know what they say?
And are you going to vote for this demon?
You know what they say?
Oh, Lord of mercy.
In Jamaica, they say there's an expression. You know, when you rob the poor. I mean, this is poor people to understand that you go to work, you put in your money, and you're not supposed to have access to it. Come on.
There's a question here, or there's a point here from Tanya. She's saying, remember he had a lot to say about the bill Patrice brought for service workers. Remember that? The long service gratuity. Tell the people about that.
The long service gratuity was introduced by Patrice Tinsbit as the Attorney General, backed by the Labour Party and the NRP. What we said is that fellas were working for long periods of time. It's very much like what we're saying here. In the private sector. And they didn't get a cent. And as a result, people were able to go home with substantial monies, 20,000, 30,000, which meant a lot to people, Kel, who were working for basic small money.
So they got severance payout.
They got severance payout. And that had to do with a government reaching out. We had a discussion with Prime Minister Douglas. You know what it happened, Kel? When the Nisbet workers were let off, and several people, we said, but this can't be right. You go to work for 15 years with a company and the company goes under and you don't get a cent. Come on. And as a result, the long service gratuity was instituted. It is still in place. But, you know, it's interesting. We never got any support for anything we did from there.
But you see, I think what Tanya is alluding to is the fact that we got pushback, big pushback from Brantley about the long service gratuity. Never supported it. And here it is. That what bill was passed by when Patrice was the Attorney General.
Yes.
For the benefit of workers in the service industry.
Little people.
Benefit of workers in the service industry. That protected them from simply being chopped and thrown away. We walked away with a package. The severance is not paid by the employee. It's being paid by the employer. I think it's 1%.
Yeah, 1%.
Right? You pay of the salary of the worker's salary. You put it into a fund called the severance fund. And that money is supposed to pay severance packages to those who are leaving the service of workers in the service industry, the hotels and stuff and such and such. Mark Brantley's government and Mark Brantley himself had a problem with this. Let us not forget. So what he's saying now in 2025 in the House, in the federal parliament, is no different than he said before. Poor people must not get anything.
Must remain poor.
Because when you're poor, then you become dependent on him for a handout. He got you exactly where he wants you. When he comes to election, he can say, boy, you hold $2 there. Because you're desperate for money. This is what he wants. Let's take this call. Good afternoon, you're on target.
Yeah, good afternoon again. Yes, we shouldn't surprise. we shouldn't surprise. Because the people who raise him, the people who teach him, the people who nurture him, I'm born and raised in this country, you know, and me older than him. He cost them. He cost them. So I expect from the demon that what we want, you know, is the Angelical Association and the Christian Council. They're not drive out demon out of people. Drive the demon out of the country. Good afternoon.
You know what is interesting, Dr. Daly? There are persons who work in the law firm of the Premier and would have left his law firm to go to greener pastures. And what he said in the parliament, it sounds to me like he is angry that they left and go on their own. And he feel like when you're in an environment, you should stay there until you reach retirement ages. And the second thing I would like to find out is if those who leave his establishment after working for 10, 15, 20 years, has any pension scheme for them? Has they benefited in any way that when they leave that he gave them a package?
I don't know.
Because he seems to be of this opinion that people should be working and going and basically getting nothing. I just cannot understand this man. But again, I got to go back to us divisions. The CCM put out a petition in the name of Alexis Jeffers. We must go that. And saying that no parliamentarian in Nevis should be allowed to serve in the parliament in Nevis and the parliament in St. Kitts. Hundreds of persons signed that petition. Patrice was then a member of the parliament in St. Kitts, but not in Nevis. But he was vying for it, and the Nevisians voted with Alexis and said, yes, you're absolutely right. Patrice should not be allowed to be in the parliament in Nevis and parliament in St. Kitts. We agree with you. And so they did not vote for Patrice. The next election, the voters of Nevis went and did the very same thing that they signed a petition against and vote for Alexis Jeffers to be in both parliament. Who do I blame? Alexis or the voters of Nevis? Who said that? Because Alexis made it abundantly clear that as a politician, you cannot be serving the interests of the people of Nevis and at the same time serving the interests of the people in St. Kitts. You have to choose one. They made it abundantly clear you must choose one. We chose one. We chose him. And then he turned around and said to us, vote for me now to go to St. Kitts so I could serve two masters. And we turned around and said, yes, he's right. What they're doing, we, the people of Nevis, gave them the license to do this. We have to blame ourselves.
Good afternoon, you're on target. Good afternoon, you're on target. Hello?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Speak up, please. Hello?
Turn off your device, sir. They're getting a feedback. Because
I'm not hearing anything.
They have a delay?
I'm not hearing anything.
Yeah.
Let me just move on real quick because time is against us. There was a situation at the High Court yesterday involving the Bank of New Innovation, formerly the Bank of Nevis International. And as background, the owner of the bank, a gentleman by the name of, anyway, you all know who he is. I can't remember. Prest. Yeah, Mr. Prest. Michael Prest. He's the owner of the bank. He would have taken flight from the Federation some time ago, maybe 2-3 years ago, I can't remember exactly when, on the heels of a warrant for his arrest issued by our judicial system here on Nevis. And at the heart of it was claims by an investor into his company of some $2.5 million. for shares in that bank. Okay? The matter has been back and forth in court, back and forth in court. Eventually, Mr. Press decided Nevis was a little too hot for him and left. I don't know where he is in this world. But he left behind a whole organization to run the bank. And one of those persons who is responsible for the bank, the CEO, Chief Executive Officer, a gentleman by the name of James Simpson, has been before the court on several occasions to answer to the court as to why monies ordered to be paid by the court have not been paid. Okay, I understand it runs in the millions of US dollars owed to people. And so it appears that the judge reached his breaking point yesterday. After several threats, the judge finally followed through on his threat and jailed Mr. Simpson for 7 days in the first instance for contempt of court. And I applaud the judge. I think he did the right thing. Because what happens often is that the big fishes always get away. And the small guys with the guns and the knives and the break-ins and the larceny, they're the ones who feel the brunt of the law. Yesterday, it was different. So Mr. Simpson, who is CEO of the Bank of Nevis International, now the Bank of New Innovation, is now jailed.
Is in 1740?
1740 with a blue suit on. 1840 with a blue prison outfit on. I don't understand. From what I'm understanding, from what I'm being told, is that it's not for the lack of warning, either by the judge or members in our community that says to Mr. Simpson, boy, get out of in there. Do not let this man use you to the point where you're going to take jail for him. And he did not listen. He stayed there, and now he is facing the consequence of being imprisoned. 7 days in the first instance, and then who knows, normally goes 7 days, 14 days, 21 days. I think the legislation was changed about debtor's prison, so maybe after serving 42 days, maybe your debt is forgiven. I don't know. But
you can't forget that you owe the people's money.
This goes to a pattern we have seen with our premier, where he surrounds himself with these criminals. And last week we went to great pains to name some of them. I still have their names in the paper. Jeff Folsom of Enclave had to pay back millions in California for fraud. Jeff Folsom, remember the guy from the White Waste Recycling?
Yes. So he said he never met.
Yeah. You have Dwayne Critchfield and Stephen Donaldson from the Fidelity Insurance Company. You had Michael Press. You have Philip Martinez. You have Benjamin Way up there in the Hamilton Trust, Hamilton Reserve Bank. You have this guy, Olivier Jensen from Sovereign Enclave, who want to take up half of Nevis, courtesy of the Premier of Nevis and his wife. All of them are friends of our Premier. Every single last one. And there's only some of the people. How is it? Can it be coincidence, Tula Weeks? You're a man of God. Can it be coincidence that this, I can't even call it triad. This is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 odd. All these forces are convening on one point, Daniel Brantley.
Birds of a feather flock together. Hyenas, they roam in packs.
Good afternoon, you're on target.
Yeah, good afternoon again. And we wonder why the country not developed. In here sitting and wonder why Nevis not developed. All these is burning arrows shooting to the heart of Nevis. They are burning arrows, shooting to the heart and the face. And what we going to do? Sit down here as a people and do and what? Let a demon there take us to hell. We go drive the man out there. We go drive the man out of our business. The charity, he not perform, he cannot perform. He not capable enough to perform for us. We got people here who do the job. Navy people who live on the island. Let me get together with more than them. We much more than them. Let me get rid of them. Good afternoon.
Thank you, sir. So we have this premier who will see he like a magnet. He like a magnet but not for good. He's a magnet for everything evil. How can one man just by chance? Just by chance?
No, it's you call that guilty by association. This is the guy who is saying.
Let's take this call.
Take the call first.
Good afternoon, on target.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Again, I promise this is the last call.
Okay.
No, the likes of people don't like to talk, but I saw a post by my brother Alvan this morning about maybe 9 projects by the CCM from since they came in about 2013. Either what's not done, incomplete, but the one that really, really, really hurts me is the Alexandria Hospital. You know, it's going to be 8 years in the next maybe 3 weeks since that hospital wing project. It's not completed. It's I don't even know. And then all of a sudden now there's a new twist to it. What's it you were saying on Thursday?
About the Taiwanese?
Yeah. What was it again?
He said that the Taiwanese, he has now received bids from 2 companies, one Taiwanese. He didn't say what the second one was. And that the cabinet is examining the bid. So they'll make a determination.
Well, I do understand. But the cabinet got a man who designed the plan. And the plan is what got neighbors in the problem. So why cabinet got to review the plan? Or the bid?
Cabinet,
or the figures?
Cabinet is the wrong people to be viewing anything.
Daily, give me 1 second. Let me just take a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The cabinet has a lady who said that there are receipts, wrong receipts. The cabinet is the cabinet that has a man who designed the plan, the wrong plan. The cabinet is a man who initially was charged with the to oversee the completion of that project. 8 years, 3 different people. No, daily. Anyway, I'm out.
Thank you, sir. All right. So we were talking about this situation where, you know, that I have listen.
No, sorry, Kel. When you when you grow up, when you were growing up, and your mother see you with certain people, what did she do to you?
Keep her from bad company.
And what did you do?
I can't disclose.
Did she just tell you? Well, she give you a.
She demonstrated.
Oh, okay, all right.
She demonstrated. The point is this: I was not more around much during our late national hero Simeon Daniels' term. I was away.
Oh yeah.
I was here definitely for some of Vance Emery's and all of Joseph Parry's.
You're all of Parry's, so you know what is good.
And I have never, and maybe Paulson can correct me, but I've never seen this level of bad actors. It has
never happened.
Involved with any government.
It has not happened.
Remember, I was Mr. Parry. I was with Mr. Parry's government.
Man, don't say afraid to say you were deputy premier.
Well, all right.
You were deputy premier.
Yes, and I remember there is the first week of government. We went to see Mr. Daniel, And you know what Mr. Simeon said to us? He said, fellas, run the system. Do all you can to help people, especially the little people. That was all his thing. And you know what he said, Kel? And run a clean ship. Because when I left government, the CCM government brought in an accounting firm to investigate me and to audit. He said, fellas, see me here all now. And then he said, send people to train, and send some to run the system for you all so that you can keep with the people and have good public servants. Then, Kelly, second, within a month, Mr. Perry says, fellas, when you all go anywhere, pay. Nobody gonna look no free food in no hotel. Because if they insult the local people, we're going to give them 24 hours out of the country. And finally, fellas, he used to say, look, fellas, we would bring up all kinds of things with people. He said, look, fellas, I am a student of history, and I am not going to jail with nobody. Mm-hmm. And no, I am not going to make anybody feel that they could take up Nevis and go along with it. That was Mr. Parry.
The thing is...
So both Parry and Daniel.
Yeah.
All right?
Go ahead, Tulu.
Mark Brantley has single-handedly...
Hold on. Good afternoon, you're on target.
Hey, good afternoon. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
You know, I've been listening to these two shows from this Thursday night up to this one right now, and I'm really, really confused about what is really happening in our country. Before I go further, let me just share my condolences with you for the passing of your brother.
Thank you, sir.
He was, I remember in his young days, he used to travel around with me and pick up.
I remember that.
And so on.
Oh, really?
I remember that.
Yeah, he used to lime around with me when, carrying cargo and so when you get the school break and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So, I knew him back then. So I just want to share. And I also want to tell you, Kel, that these health tips that you're giving, I find them very, 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 very useful. And I must thank you for your foresight and your wisdom and what you impart to people, not only on the political realm, but also people learn a lot from your health tips and so on, and help to guide people along how well. Me for one, I am benefiting from your show from time to time. But for the politics, right? I don't see this getting any better, and the gentleman does always say, man, we need to get rid of this man. And my thing about this man is like, a curse. There's a curse on our country, and it's up at the top, and it is really messing up our country big time, big time. And boy, if I would be glad, gentlemen, that if you will just walk away from the politics today, I will be glad if you do it. So that Nevis could advance, man. Nevis not gone away, no? The country not going any place. You mean so much things, so much, and it's plain to see. It comes when you have a person who tells lie at will. These are the people that we should always keep away from, man. You have to keep away from such people, because if they tell you walk, you better run. Okay?
Right.
And I believe that the time has really come for him to walk away, because I always say, and I'll keep saying, he himself said that the country is running on fumes. And you can't want nothing worse than that. I will keep saying, he himself is saying, is he running the country? And he is telling us that the country is running on fumes. Well, we have to believe, and we can see for ourselves, the man just does not care anything about local people.
All right. Thank you, sir.
I was saying, Dr. Daly.
Yeah.
Mark has corrupted the politics of Nevis single-handedly. Secondly, he has corrupted all those who got in close contact with him. Thirdly, he does it to satisfy his ego, his greed. All of this is about him getting ahead, moving ahead, being above everybody else. Now, the Apostle Paul speaks about there are people who develop a love for money that they will do anything to get money. And this is what really permeates. He will stop at nothing to make money, no matter who he has to make a deal with. So those names that you mentioned there, I'm not surprised that he's going to go there. One, people who are decent, they're going to run from him. Secondly, people who he believes are decent, he would want them close to him. And so therefore, he must associate himself with this. We go all the way back to Jonathan Christian Berry, $2.5 million. That has not been accounted for, will not be accounted for. Christian Berry died. And we know the thing about it. But the way that this gentleman has been able to corrupt those around him who get close to him, it is amazing. Jesus says, and I think it's Matthew chapter 23, that there are those who will go to the ends of the earth to make one disciple. And after they make that disciple, they corrupt that disciple, that to make that disciple 7 times worse than they are. The bad thing about it, and the ugly thing about it, as bad as Mark Brantley is, nobody in the CCM party is better than him. He has corrupted them, and they are worse than him. Unfortunately.
All right. Folks, I don't know what left because the other crew hasn't come in yet, so I guess we will talk until we see them.
They want to discuss so they could come.
Oh, yeah? I haven't seen them. Normally, they show up at the door and start looking all annoyed. But we haven't seen them.
You know, I was just to say that, have you heard any of these kinds of things with any of those premiers?
No. That's what my whole point was.
It will not happen.
The last thing then on the agenda, until we get through. You know, there was a call made to Mark's show on Wednesday night asking about the lands at Indian Castle, what became of the lands and what became of the livestock. And that question really got on the Premier's nerve, really dig him in the kidneys, you know? And so he felt obligated to respond on Facebook the following day, trying to deride trying to deride the question and, of course, the questioner. What became of the land at Indian Castle and the livestock that were there? All right? We covered some of it on Thursday evening, but let me summarize. The idea behind the abandonment, let me say this, let me back up a little bit, for those persons who are not familiar. The Agricultural Department, the Ministry of Agriculture or Navies, has had 2 active livestock breeding stations. One at Indian Castle and the second one at Madden's. The one at Indian Castle had this white zebu or Brahman, and the one at Madden's was the red pole. All right? The 2 herds were distinct. All right? The farm at Indian Castle also did breeding of sheep. Now, you must understand the purpose of these breeding farms is for Nivision farmers to access livestock and good genetic livestock. And so we took that job seriously as agriculturalists to make sure Nivision farmers who want a good heifer or a young bull,
can go up to the bull from St. Croix.
they would have access to them. All right, farmers from across the island of Nevis, even those on St. Kitts, got prime genetic breed stock from those 2 farms. Okay. Here comes Mr. Brantley and his government in 2013. After we would have invested copious amounts of money to maintain the estate at Indian Castle, to make sure our fencing was done, to make sure there was proper breed stock there, They came and simply walked away from Indian Castle. The animals were left to roam, the fences deteriorated, the pastures became overgrown, everything was destroyed. I don't know what became of the sheep, but I know the cattle dispersed and they're now roaming between Hickman's, Webb's Ground, Fothergill's, Bachelor Hall, all the way up to Simmons's, down Indian Castle. They are now free. And every time the abattoir is short of beef, we have to get the police involved or a private shooter to go and physically track down an animal and dispatch it. It is tedious work. And that is why we are faced with a situation where 90+% of our beef does not come from the government farms anymore. It comes from St. Kitts, from St. Kitts farmers. That is a fact.
But the Premier is giving the impression that
the Premier can talk all the war. He spoke a big lie on talking about the cattle were moved to Maddens. Nothing at all, because I can tell you that. I can put my life on the line and say no cattle were moved from Indian Castle to Maddens. None.
Tell the people again.
None were moved. And he like to say, based on my understanding, you're talking stupidness. Because nothing goes so, and you well know it. None were moved. The question was, what became of the land? Because we knew the government had signed a contract to use 250 acres as their share in a hotel development down near Indian Castle. And that is why the racetrack was destroyed, and that is why the cattle farm was destroyed. So to make way, to facilitate this development, the one and only now gone to Antigua. We not got one and only no more. The question was, when you made this arrangement for the 250 acres to become part of this deal, for which the NIA was a shareholder, did that land go back into our government, or is it still being held by this developer? And Brantley knew the question. He knew the answer, but he wanted to make fun and deride the seriousness of the question by saying the land's still there. Good on there, you see the still land there. We know that. Nobody idiots. But you're trying to make fun of a very serious question. We used to get we used to get a lot of beef from Center Stations. We don't anymore. We don't. So we simply don't. We don't get the quantum we used to get. All right? So I just want to make that clear to us. Good afternoon, you on target.
Yes, I'm saying good afternoon. Oh my God. Yes, I remember I hear a clip of him when the reporter asked him something about the leaders down here and him. Why are he coming down and speaking with them and what? He said he ain't cleaning ground for monkey to run pan. But we are cleaning ground to give him the money to pay him.
Mm.
Yes.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
All right, cool.
Yeah, okay.
Mm. So that is it in a nutshell. That's like this last call. Good afternoon, you on target.
Yeah, good afternoon. So, okay, no hotel bill.
No.
And the cattle them down the wild.
Yep.
The cattle them not just a roam, you know. The cattle them run people. The cattle them just a roam. So tell the Mr. Man, right? Because he said them over madness, you know. So tell the Mr. Man they don't run people. And trust me, whenever they never shoot the cattle them, you know, half the time the abattoir can't use the meat.
That's true.
Half the time the abattoir can't use the meat. Yo, let me say to name the people again this afternoon. I'll be kick the man out of in there. Let me run the man out of our business. He's talking about food security. But what happened to the cattle down there? So that the part of food security? What happened to the food archer that they got on that jail down? Millions of dollars They take up us, spend on them. People, let me stop playing with the man. Because that's what we do. Let me stop laughing with the man. Good afternoon.
Thank you. All right. All right. I don't think there's anything for to say. All I can recap and say, we have a premier who despises poor people. Despises. And when I used to make up this thing about he is not for us. No, you know what I'm talking about. He is not for us. And I said that from the bottom of my heart. He is not for us. You've heard his position regarding the bill for pension and gratuity for non-established workers. You've heard his position regarding the return to work after you retired. You've heard it. Now, I want to ask you in good conscience, is this something you want to vote for? To maintain a man who has this attitude towards the working poor? I can't believe it. We should not even be having a conversation. We really should not even be having this conversation. Because you see, when you do these kind of things and you think you're not noticed, we are noticing. And we're going to bring it to the public. We're going to show the public exactly who you are and what you stand for. We're going to show the public your favoritism to certain groups of people, certain demographics. But when it comes to the locals, we get the worst of it. Absolute worst of it. You trying to deny poor people access to their money, their hard-earned money, is criminal. I can't put it any worse than that. It is criminal. But then when you associate yourself with real criminals, they're your friends. How you square these circles? How you make sense of this? How do you give a man total concession on $40 million worth of imported art? But yet you're charging a Nivision $5,000 in environmental levy. You're bringing a worker. How you get these things do? How you going to increase fees at the hospital for poor people who barely can make it? But you don't give a concession for $40 million. I don't understand it. I don't know what people are waiting to see or hear, because these actions affect all of us. You think these actions are going to pick out only greenhouses? Everybody getting squeezed by this government. And he going to come to you and he going to hug you up and he might give you a blue shot with a little couple of dollars in it and say, man, we going to come better next time. Mr. Brantley, you've been in power since 2007. 2007. You've been in government.
He came in with a lie.
Right?
And all these years later, he's still going with
2007, you came into government, replacing our dear brother Malcolm.
A decent guy.
Promising all manner of things. Ain't deliver nothing. Coming in promising fair share, ain't deliver nothing. Coming in, going to do the hospital, nothing. I'm going to give you the world class Monday track. I give you a track, but then a world class. A world class pay at Orly. They had to dig up the blasted pay to put in pipe to run water and power. What else do you want to hear? We are struggling financially in this country. Right? 2.75 million of each month. We're going to find interest payments to our loans. Over $550 million of the loans. And I keep telling you, if you're going to have to be facing a bank or buying school supplies or hospital supplies, guess what you're going to do? You're going to pay your bank. Everything has a cost. Everything has a cost. And the people of Nevis have been bearing more than their fair share of cost. Good afternoon. I'm out of here. See you guys next week, Saturday, God willing.